Okay, so let's jump into crypto today, huh? We're taking a deep dive into Cardano and Mutuum Finance, exploring their potential and the challenges within the crypto landscape.
Sounds good.
We've got quite a bit to cover, actually, from Cardano's partnership with Serpro, the biggest IT company in Brazil.
Oh, wow.
To Mutuum Finance's pre-sale performance and all the excitement around its dual lending framework.
It is a very interesting model that they have.
Absolutely, yeah. Cardano with its ADA token is definitely the more established platform. It's known for its methodical, research-driven approach to development.
Right.
But it is facing some headwinds in the market.
Yeah, I mean, well, Cardano has a really strong community and a commitment to peer review. I think the pace of its ecosystem development has been a bit of a point of contention for some people.
Yeah.
This approach, while ensuring security and stability, might be hindering its ability to compete in the fast-paced world of crypto, where rapid innovation is often rewarded.
Right.
Yeah,
it's like meticulously building a house brick by brick when others are constructing skyscrapers overnight almost.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But does this slower pace really translate to tangible disadvantages for Cardano?
Well, so think about this. Developers that are seeking to build decentralized applications, or dApps as they're called, they often prioritize platforms with really strong ecosystems and a lot of different tools available.
Sure.
So if Cardano's development is lagging, it could struggle to attract those developers.
Right.
And then that would potentially limit the functionality and variety of dApps built on its platform.
Gotcha.
And that, of course, impacts user adoption and overall market growth.
Okay, so it's not just about building a solid foundation.
Right.
It's about making sure that there's an environment where developers can thrive and innovation flourishes. Or else what's the point?
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned Cardano's recent partnership with Serpro, and that seemed like a pretty big step towards broader adoption, especially in a market like Latin America, which is, rapidly growing in the crypto space.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Serpro is, it's gigantic in the Brazilian IT sector.
Right.
So this collaboration could expose Cardano to millions of new users.
Yeah.
So, it definitely signals growing confidence in Cardano's technology and its potential to, be used for real-world applications.
For sure. It's like opening a gateway to a whole new continent of users and developers.
Right, exactly.
But, let's address the elephant in the room. Cardano's price has been struggling.
Yeah.
Up to some of those earlier predictions.
Yeah, the market hasn't quite reflected the optimism surrounding Cardano's fundamentals.
Right.
And there's a few factors at play here. The slow ecosystem development we just talked about is definitely one.
Sure.
And then another is Cardano's potential role or a lack thereof in initiatives like the U.S. Crypto Reserve.
Right. That proposed strategic Bitcoin reserve, spearheaded by former President Trump, has definitely ignited debates about which cryptocurrencies should, have a place at the table.
Right.
And Cardano wasn't initially included?
Yeah, while Cardano's community-driven governance model is great for decentralization, some experts are kind of questioning whether it aligns with the centralized nature of a national crypto reserve.
Interesting, yeah.
This model where decisions are made through community consensus might be perceived as less predictable or controllable compared to, platforms with more centralized leadership structures.
Gotcha.
And that perception could be a factor influencing market sentiment.
So it's like a catch-22, right? Cardano's strength, its decentralized governance, could actually also be perceived as a weakness in certain contexts.
Right, yeah.
And this leads us to those, contrasting price predictions we're seeing.
Exactly, yeah. Some analysts, they're focusing on the current market sentiment and the perceived slow pace of development, and they're painting a pretty bearish picture, predicting that ADA might even struggle to stay above about 75 cents. But then you have others who are looking at, the Serpro partnership and Cardano's long-term potential.
Right.
And they're forecasting a possible surge maybe to $1.35 or even reaching $5.
Wow. So that's a big range.
Well, it's a huge range.
Yeah, that really highlights the uncertainty in the crypto market where, factors like adoption, regulation, technological advancements can all have such a huge impact on valuation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And speaking of uncertainties, we we can't ignore the recent setback with Axo.
Yeah.
It's a DeFi project built on Cardano.
Right.
And it's facing liquidation, which really just underscores the inherent risk in the space.
Yeah, for sure.
Even for ventures that seem, promising.
Right. It's a stark reminder that thorough due diligence and a cautious approach are really important in DeFi.
Yeah.
Cardano offers a solid foundation for sure.
Yeah.
But the success of projects built on its platform is still going to depend on a lot of factors.
Sure.
Including project-specific execution and just overall market dynamics.
This brings us to Mutuum Finance.
Yeah.
Which is a newcomer making some real waves in DeFi, especially with its impressive presale and its innovative approach to lending.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mutuum Finance, with its MUTM token, is generating a lot of buzz.
Yeah.
And particularly because of its unique dual lending framework.
Very interesting.
Which combines peer-to-contract and peer-to-peer models.
Right.
And this is where it gets interesting, I think. Can you explain how this dual lending model actually works and why it's attracting so much attention?
Yeah, so imagine this. Okay. In a traditional peer-to-contract lending platform, so P2C, you lend your crypto to a smart contract.
Right.
And that governs the lending terms.
Gotcha.
But then in a peer-to-peer model, P2P, you lend directly to another person.
Oh.
So Mutuum Finance basically combines these two models.
Okay.
And that offers, users greater flexibility.
Interesting.
So borrowers can choose between, the security and automation of P2C, or maybe the potentially lower interest rates and the more personalized terms of P2P.
So it really is kind of getting the best of both worlds,
right,
catering to a wider range of needs and preferences.
Exactly, yeah.
And you mentioned that Mutuum Finance is attracting significant investment during its presale.
Yeah, they've already raised over $3 million.
Wow.
Which shows strong investor confidence.
Yeah.
And I think this enthusiasm is fueled in part by Mutuum Finance's commitment to transparency and security.
For sure, especially after what happened with Axo. Transparency and security are really, really critical.
Absolutely, yeah.
For DeFi to be successful.
Yeah. So they've implemented these open source smart contracts.
Okay.
So that means anyone can actually look at the code.
Wow.
And scrutinize it.
That's pretty cool.
And they've also undergone third-party audits to just verify the robustness of their platform.
So they're really taking the right steps to build trust and attract users.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of things right.
Now let's talk about those price projections.
Okay.
Analysts are projecting a surge to maybe $1.50.
Wow.
Or even higher for MUTM.
Okay.
And that would represent like a 10,000% return for early investors.
That's incredible.
It's pretty eye-catching, right?
Yeah.
But, as you mentioned earlier, the crypto market is inherently volatile.
It is.
So we have to approach these projections with a healthy dose of caution.
Absolutely.
While the potential for high returns is obviously enticing.
Yeah.
It's really important to remember that risk is always a factor.
Right. It's part of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
So investing in any cryptocurrency, especially those in kind of their early stages, requires careful consideration, research, and just understanding your own risk tolerance.
Right.
Now,
before we get into the specifics of Mutuum Finance and its potential to become a DeFi leader.
Okay.
Let's zoom out a little bit and look at the broader crypto landscape.
Okay. Yeah.
Because the performance of these individual projects is always influenced by those prevailing trends.
Absolutely.
And forces that are shaping the whole market.
For sure.
And one of the biggest trends that we're seeing right now is the rise of stable coins.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, particularly in light of initiatives like the U.S. Crypto Reserve.
Right.
This push for stability and government backing is having a big impact across the whole crypto ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, stablecoins are really interesting, right? Because they're pegged to fiat currencies like the U.S. dollar.
Right.
So they offer kind of a haven from that volatility that's often associated with, cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin or Cardano.
Right.
So their increasing popularity reflects this growing demand for digital assets that can be used for, everyday transactions and as a store of value without the big price swings.
Right.
That can be scary for some investors.
So while Cardano and Mutuum Finance represent different approaches to, to innovation and growth within DeFi.
Right.
This rise of stablecoins presents like a separate but equally important trend.
Yeah, I think so.
That's really reshaping the whole financial landscape.
Absolutely.
And it's something that everyone needs to be aware of.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we said that stablecoins are becoming a real force in the crypto world.
Yeah, for sure.
But how does their rise really impact the average person? Like, especially when it comes to things like sending money internationally.
Oh, yeah. Remittances. I mean, the potential is huge.
Yeah.
Imagine sending money across borders instantly with almost no fees, all powered by stable coins that are, pegged to the US dollar.
Right.
This could completely revolutionize remittances.
Yeah.
Particularly for developing economies where traditional money transfer services charge these crazy high fees.
Right.
And it can take days to process.
Yeah, that's a game changer for families who rely on those remittances to support, their loved ones back home.
Absolutely.
It could really empower individuals, stimulate economic growth, even challenge the dominance of these traditional financial institutions in those regions.
Yeah, I mean, stable coins could offer a much more accessible and efficient and affordable alternative to traditional banking systems.
Sure.
Especially for those who just don't have access to basic financial services.
It's like we're leveling the playing field and giving everyone a chance to participate in the global economy.
I think so, yeah.
But let's bring this back to our two featured projects.
Okay.
How do Cardano and Mutuum Finance fit into this evolving landscape where stablecoins are really gaining traction?
That's a good question. So Cardano, with its focus on financial inclusion,
right,
and its goal of providing banking services to the unbanked, it actually aligns really well with the potential of stablecoins.
Interesting.
Its blockchain could become a platform for issuing and managing stablecoins.
Okay.
And that would just further expand its reach and impact in developing economies.
So while Cardano might not be in the U.S. crypto reserve,
right,
it could really create its own path as a champion for financial inclusion.
Right.
Just through this stablecoin integration.
Yeah.
What about Mutuum Finance?
Yeah, so Mutuum Finance, I think it could benefit from stablecoin integration in a few ways. Imagine users borrowing or lending stablecoins on the platform.
Right.
And that would really mitigate the volatility risks associated with other cryptocurrencies.
Right, which is a big concern for a lot of people.
It is, yeah. So this could attract a broader range of users.
Sure.
Especially those who are looking for more predictable returns.
Right.
Or maybe those who are hesitant to engage with these more volatile assets.
Okay, so it sounds like stablecoins could become like a really crucial element.
Yeah, I think so.
In both Cardano's mission for financial inclusion, and Mutuum Finance's goal of really kind of disrupting DeFi lending.
I agree.
But before we get too carried away with all this potential, let's take a step back and address some of the skepticism surrounding Cardano.
Okay.
Some critics point to its slow development,
right,
and they argue that it's falling behind its competitors in terms of real world applications.
Yeah.
And adoption.
It's a common criticism for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard similar concerns. And while we talked about the significance of the Serpro partnership, some people argue that it's just not enough,
right,
to propel Cardano to the forefront of the crypto world.
Yeah, they want to see more.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on all of this?
Well, it's true that Cardano's pace of development has been very, very deliberate.
Right.
They really prioritize research and security over rapid deployment.
Okay.
And this approach has both advantages and disadvantages.
Sure.
The slow and steady approach might hinder its ability to keep up with competitors that are releasing new features,
right,
and functionalities very, very quickly.
So it's a balancing act.
It is, yeah.
Striving for perfection and security,
right,
while also staying, agile.
Yeah.
And responsive to market demands.
It's not easy.
Right. And what about this argument that Cardano doesn't really have any real world use cases?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We mentioned its potential for supply chain management.
Right.
But Are there other tangible examples of its technology being used in practical ways?
Yeah, there are. There are definitely a few.
Okay.
So Cardano's blockchain is being used for a variety of applications, including, identity verification, voting systems, and even educational credentialing.
Interesting.
For example, in Ethiopia, Cardano is actually being used to create a digital identity system for students.
Wow.
And that enables, secure and verifiable records of their academic achievements. And this can be really, really beneficial in regions where traditional record-keeping systems are just not reliable.
Right, or they're prone to fraud and things like that.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's a great example of how Cardano's technology is having a real-world impact.
Right.
Especially in developing countries.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just about, theoretical potential.
Right.
It's about actual solutions to real-world challenges.
It's about making a difference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And while some people might criticize Cardano's pace, its focus on building this solid foundation with all the testing and the peer review, it could actually pay off in the long run.
I think so, yeah.
It's like that, that story about the tortoise and the hare.
Right.
Slow and steady.
Yeah.
Sometimes wins the race.
Wins the race.
Especially when you're talking about building trust.
Right.
And ensuring the long-term sustainability of a platform like that.
Absolutely.
But we can't forget about the importance of user experience.
Right.
And developer adoption.
Right, for sure.
Because no matter how robust the technology is, if it's not user-friendly. Right. Or if developers just, don't like working with it.
It's a problem.
Yeah, it's gonna struggle to gain widespread adoption.
It doesn't go anywhere.
Right. So it's a multifaceted challenge, right?
Yeah.
Cardano needs to keep building its ecosystem.
Yeah.
Attract developers, demonstrate its value through these real-world applications.
Sure. Yeah.
If it wants to compete with the big players like Ethereum and Solana.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this kind of brings us back to a really crucial point for our listeners.
Okay.
It's so essential to do your own research.
Yes.
Evaluate the evidence, form your own conclusions.
Don't just follow the hype.
Yeah, don't blindly follow the hype or dismiss the naysayers either.
Exactly. Yeah.
Dive in, understand the technology, the team behind it, the roadmap, and the potential challenges.
Right.
Think about the potential impact on your own life, your own financial goals.
Yeah, absolutely.
This deep dive is really all about giving you the information and the insights that you need.
The tools.
Yeah, the tools. Yeah, to navigate this complex world of cryptocurrencies.
It is complex.
It is. It's a lot.
But it's exciting.
It is, yeah.
So whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting out on your crypto journey, informed decision making is really important.
Couldn't agree more. Now, before we move on and explore the wider implications of all these trends, let's touch on one more aspect of Cardano that I think is really compelling.
Okay.
And that's its potential impact on developing economies.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, I mean, this is where Cardano's mission for financial inclusion becomes really impactful.
It does, yeah.
Imagine a world where individuals in developing countries who have been excluded from traditional banking systems,
right,
they can finally access financial services.
Yeah.
Through a secure, affordable, and decentralized platform like Cardano.
I mean, that's the dream, right?
It is. It's a vision of empowerment.
Yeah.
Giving individuals control over their finances,
right?
Enabling them to participate in the global economy, and driving economic growth in these underserved communities.
Yeah, it's about giving people opportunities that they wouldn't have otherwise.
Absolutely, and it's not just about individuals either, right?
Right.
Cardano's technology can also, empower small businesses,
yes,
streamline government processes, facilitate cross-border trade.
Yeah, there's so much potential there.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential. Imagine a farmer in rural Africa being able to access microloans through a DeFi platform built on Cardano.
Right.
Expanding their business.
Yeah.
Contributing to their local economy.
It's a powerful image.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's about breaking down these barriers.
Yeah.
Creating opportunities and leveraging technology to drive positive change.
I love it.
But of course, this vision isn't without its challenges, right?
Of course.
Adoption, infrastructure, education are all hurdles that need to be overcome.
Yeah.
access to technology, internet connectivity, digital literacy. These are all essential.
Yeah, if you don't have the basics, it's going to be tough.
Right. Right.
So it's a multifaceted challenge that really requires collaboration between governments, NGOs, developers, and the local communities themselves.
Yeah. It can't just be, one group coming in and saying, here's the solution.
Exactly. Yeah.
It has to be a collaborative effort.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's a reminder that technology alone isn't a silver bullet.
Right.
We need to address the social, economic, and political factors that contribute to financial exclusion.
Absolutely.
We want to create a truly equitable and inclusive global financial system.
I think that's a really important point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So while Cardano offers a really promising platform for driving financial inclusion, it's important to acknowledge the complexities.
Yeah, for sure.
And work towards sustainable solutions that actually empower individuals and communities.
Right.
In a meaningful and lasting way.
Yeah, it's not just about, a quick fix. It's about long-term change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this brings us back to the bigger picture, right?
Okay, yeah.
We've discussed, specific projects like Cardano and Mutum Finance. We've explored the rise of stable coins.
Yeah.
We've talked about the potential impact on global finance.
It's a lot.
It is, yeah.
But the crypto landscape is constantly changing.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up sometimes.
It is, yeah. It's moving so fast.
What seems like a sure thing today could be gone tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a wild world.
So it's crucial to stay informed.
Yes.
Keep learning and be adaptable.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's like navigating uncharted waters, right?
It is.
The potential rewards are huge, but the risks are real.
Yeah.
And the landscape is always changing.
Always changing, yeah.
So how can our listener approach all of this with a sense of informed caution?
Well, I think one crucial aspect is understanding your own goals.
Okay.
And risk tolerance.
Yeah, for sure.
Are you looking for long-term growth?
Right.
Or are you more interested in short-term gains?
Right.
Are you comfortable with high volatility, or do you prefer, more stable assets?
Right. Everybody's got a different comfort level.
Exactly. Yeah. So once you understand your own financial objectives and your risk appetite, then you can start to make, more informed decisions about which projects align with your overall strategy.
Right. It's not about just, chasing the latest trends or the most hyped project.
Right. Yeah.
It's about finding investments that fit your own circumstances.
Yeah, and your goals.
Yeah, and your long-term goals.
For sure.
Yeah, now we've focused on Cardano and Mutum Finance.
Right.
But they're just two players.
Yeah, there's so many more.
In this huge and extending crypto universe.
It's a big universe. And it's getting bigger all the time.
It is, yeah. And we haven't even touched upon, the regulatory landscape.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Which is also constantly evolving.
Always changing.
And can really impact the market.
Yeah, it's a big factor.
Governments around the world are trying to figure out how to regulate cryptocurrencies.
Right, they're playing catch up in a lot of ways.
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
And their decisions are going to shape the industry's future.
They will, yeah, for sure.
So it's a really complex and constantly evolving landscape.
It is.
And staying up to date on those regulatory developments is essential for any crypto investor.
Yeah. You have to know what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now before we wrap up,
okay.
Let's leave our listeners with a final thought to ponder.
Okay, a little something to chew on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think it's worth thinking about the potential of this technology to completely reshape the financial system.
Right, as we know it.
As we know it.
Yeah.
Yeah, DeFi is still in its early stages.
Yeah.
But it has the potential to create a much more inclusive, transparent and accessible financial system.
Yeah, imagine a world where individuals have more control over their finances.
Right.
Where barriers to entry are lowered.
Yeah.
And where financial services are just available to everyone.
To everyone.
Regardless of their location or their socioeconomic status.
That's the goal.
It is. Yeah. It's a vision worth exploring.
It is, yeah.
And it's being driven by, these really passionate individuals, these innovative projects.
For sure.
And a growing community of believers.
It's exciting.
It is.
To be a part of it.
It really is. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we encourage you, the listener, to stay curious.
Yeah, ask questions.
Keep exploring, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
Exactly.
The world of crypto is complex and constantly changing.
It is.
But it's also full of potential and opportunity.
It is, yeah.
And don't forget, the future of finance is being shaped right now.
It is.
And it's up to all of us to engage with it in a thoughtful and informed way.
Be a part of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time for another exciting exploration of the world around us.
Sounds good.
So we've really gone deep on Cardano and all the hype around Mutum Finance and this whole stablecoin thing.
Right. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah. So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, I guess what key takeaways should our listeners be thinking about?
I think the biggest one is just how dynamic the crypto space is.
Yeah.
It's constantly evolving, with these new projects popping up, trends are shifting.
Yeah.
And there's always the potential for disruption. What seems like a sure thing today, it could be obsolete tomorrow.
For sure. It changes so quickly.
It does, yeah. So it's crucial to stay informed, keep learning, be adaptable.
It's like navigating uncharted waters.
It is.
Right? The potential rewards are huge.
Yeah.
But the risks are real,
right,
and the landscape is always changing.
Always changing, yeah.
So how can our listeners approach this with a sense of informed caution?
Well, I think a really important part of that is understanding your own goals and risk tolerance. Right. Are you looking for long-term growth potential?
Yeah.
Or are you more interested in kind of short-term gains? Are you comfortable with higher volatility?
Yeah.
Or would you prefer more stable assets?
Sure.
Once you understand your own financial objectives and risk appetite, then you can start making, smarter decisions about which projects or assets align with your strategy.
It's not just about chasing the latest trends or the most hyped project.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's about finding those investments that actually fit your own circumstances.
Yeah. And your goals.
Yeah, and your long-term goals.
For sure.
Now, we've spent a lot of time on Cardano and Mutum Finance.
Right.
But they're just two players.
Yeah,
right?
It's just two of many.
Yeah, in this huge and constantly expanding crypto universe.
It's a big world out there.
It is.
Yeah.
And we haven't even talked about the regulatory landscape.
Oh, right.
Which is also constantly evolving.
It's changing, yeah.
And can have a really big impact on the market.
It can.
Governments around the world are trying to figure out how to regulate cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, they're trying to catch up.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah, it moves so fast.
It does.
It's hard for them to keep up.
It is.
And their decisions are really going to shape the industry's future.
They are, yeah, for sure.
So it's a really complex and constantly evolving landscape.
It is.
And staying up to date on those regulatory developments is crucial.
Yeah, you have to do your homework.
You really do.
You have to know what's going on.
Absolutely. So before we say goodbye,
okay,
let's leave our listeners with a final thought to think about.
Okay, a little something to chew on.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think it's worth reflecting on the potential of this technology to completely reshape, the financial system as we know it.
Yeah, I mean, as we've been talking about, DeFi is still in its early stages.
It is, yeah, it's early days.
But it has the potential to create a more inclusive, more transparent, and a more accessible financial system.
Yeah, that's the hope.
Imagine a world where individuals have more control over their finances, where those barriers to entry are lowered, and where financial services are available to everyone.
Everyone, yeah.
No matter where they live or their socioeconomic status.
That's the dream, right?
It really is.
Yeah.
It's a vision worth exploring.
It is.
And it's being driven by these incredibly passionate people.
They are passionate.
Yeah, these innovative projects and this growing community of believers.
It's an exciting time to be involved.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we encourage you to stay curious, keep exploring.
Yeah, keep learning.
Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Exactly.
The world of crypto is complex and it's always changing.
It is.
But it's also full of potential and opportunity.
It is, yeah.
And remember, the future of finance, it's being shaped right now.
It is.
And it's really up to all of us to engage with it in a thoughtful and informed way.
That's right. Be a part of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
And we'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration of the world around us.
Sounds good.